literally go places. I see people like, oh my God, you posted this and, it changed my life. Or, I got this job, you posted.
I just needed it to work like one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now we can go to the market and say, hey, and not a proof of concept, and also with the largest privately held bank at the time. That is very conservative when you think about it.
Welcome to the Content Parlor. I'm your host today, Chardell. To my right, your left, we have
Steve Gordon.
And your name?
Shonna Dorsey.
Josh Jones.
Eddie, welcome back. This is the Content Parlor. The Content Parlor shares valuable information to help you navigate the brand building process. But this is a place for creatives to talk about the business world and just those water cooler conversations that nobody ever hears about. We've got a special panel today. We've got a little bit of creativity. We've got a little bit of tech, a little bit of startup. So the topic today, big time startup. Everybody here is a business owner, and I'm sure that people would love to hear how you guys accomplished what you did. So we're going to dive into that. But before we do that, let's do some quick housekeeping. Let's just introduce everyone so that they understand where they can find them and who's on the show today. I'm a gentleman, so I like to go with ladies first. So introduce yourself. What do you do? And where can people find you on social media?
Yes, Shonna Dorsey. So I run two initiatives in Nebraska. I run the Nebraska Tech Collaborative and InternNE powered by Exarban. So these are two initiatives all focused on talent. NTC is focused on entrepreneurship and tech talent, and then InternNE is talent broadly. So really helping businesses with resources, including grant funds, to support their internship hires. You can find info about the intern program at internneb.org and Nebraska Tech Collaborative at nebtechcollab.com.
Well, congratulations. I know there's a lot more we need to unpack there and how you got to this point. Yeah. So we'll come back to you on that. Josh, you have quite a few things going on as well. Can you tell the people a little bit about it?
Well, I'm a community enrichment specialist, social entrepreneur, community-based. I literally execute initiatives through strategic partnerships to impact the community. I'm the owner of the Vessel Network. I don't know if I can look right there. Yeah. So I'm the owner of the Vessel Network, which is a shared living providing agency. Those with developmental and intellectual disabilities. We get referrals from the state of Nebraska, and we partner them in homes of caretakers. Also, I am the owner of a nightlife karaoke brand called Beats and Sheets Karaoke. It's another name for hip hop and R&B, but it is the supreme hip hop and R&B experience. It is magnificent fun and so much more to unpack, kind of like you said, but I'm a community enrichment specialist. I love the community, and I would do anything I can for the advancement or empowerment of it.
I love it. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. We've got a very articulate guest today. Introduce yourself.
Set me up to fumble over my words. Steve Gordon. I own and operate RDQLUS, which is a branding agency focused on branding, identity design, and also creative direction, helping businesses to tell their story or enhance the story that they tell. I'm a firm believer that people don't buy things, they buy stories, or they identify with stories. And so you could have the best product or the best service, but if your story is not being told effectively, then you're losing at that. So that's what I specialize in. Lots of other things that I do, but I keep it simple. That's that one. Now you can find me everywhere. RDQLUS website, RDQL.US, Instagram, Twitter, all the other things. That's me. My goal is to make sure no one spells ridiculous properly ever again.
That's ridiculous. Is that the point? I forgot my handles.
Go ahead.
Twitter, Instagram at 62jjonesy. I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Okay. That makes sense.
You probably always wonder what it was about.
Yeah,
my people call me 6'2", Okay. But yeah, 62jjonesy, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is just / I think Josh Jones. It's fake pages out there, so you know.
That's how you know you made it.
Yeah, but my agency's website is thevesselnetwork.com. The karaoke brand is beatsandsheetskaraoke.com. Whether you type it and sheets or in sheets in a slang way, it goes right to the same page.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty dope. But yeah, thank you on that plug. I forgot to plug myself. You too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely be unpacking that a little bit more later on the show. Did you want to?
Oh no, I'm covered.
You're covered.
Yeah,
we'll put it down in
We're good.
the lower thirds. How about that? Teddy, welcome back. We don't want to leave you out over there in the corner. It's been a while since you kind of introduced yourself on the show. Where can people find you at? And how are things going at Stable Gray, man? How are things going?
Yeah, I think things are going pretty good. I guess I'll just plug Stable Gray. Yeah, you can find me at Stable Gray across Facebook, Instagram. But yeah, it's good to be back here. Yeah, excited about the panel and ready to get to it.
Well,
People don't say a lot, got a lot going, man.
This is about y'all.
Respect.
I love it. Well, yeah, let's jump straight in. We're talking about internship careers as our main topic, and then we'll go into the big time startup topic. So let's just talk about the startup piece first. Actually, I'm going to flip that around because I think it's really important for people to understand how we get to this point of being able to have a successful business, hire employees, do business with the state. So Shonna, let's just talk to you for a second about that. And I've watched you go from this very tech-centered management approach to keynote speaking, all of these different tracks that you've been on over the years. Can you just talk about just your background about how you got into tech and just the process of starting up the school?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to think about how to summarize this. I know I don't have to be brief, but there's just so much to this story.
Tell it. Tell it.
So back when I was little, my mom worked for the employee assistance program through Omaha Public Schools. And so one of the things that she was able to gather was a lot of information to help me and my sister know, like, hey, this is a great school to go to. Here are some great teachers to work with, all of that good stuff. So I for sure was bounced around a little bit, but always felt like I wanted to do things different than other people at like all times. Used to get in trouble for that.
Word.
For sure.
Yeah.
I kind of get into good trouble now with that stuff. But yeah, so even when we were younger, she had computers at the house and she would get a lot of things donated to her for me and my sister. And so over time, I just found that tech is like one of the best places to be. It is very empowering words.
Yeah.
And so through my career, I studied management information systems at UNO in undergrad and grad school. But when I was going through that, I was never like, man, I can't wait to become a software engineer. Like, I was like, that's just not my journey. But I love project management. I like what tech can do for people. So I just had to find my way.
Yeah.
And I found that the way that I wanted to be in tech somehow was like, how can I do like tech in a community focused approach somehow? Over time, kind of figured that out. So I've done all sorts of jobs in tech. I've worked on a help desk. I've been a business analyst, project manager. I've done some minor website development, just very basic front end stuff.
Sure.
But in 2014, I had the opportunity to co-find one of those words.
He's trying to think about it.
A startup.
Like, that's a good, yeah. Say that.
A code school called Interface Web School. So it was just one of those situations where it's right place, right time, being open to trying something that didn't make any sense, which it didn't really at the time. So back in 2014, there were no code schools in Omaha. There were some in San Francisco. Like the coasts are always like the first to figure this stuff out because they're like, we need the talent. We can't wait 4 years. What if we, do something different? So we started one here, and it was so hard to get it off the ground because I didn't really know anyone. And when you mentioned Josh, right?
Yep.
When you mentioned that you do creative or strategic partnering, I was like, that is the only way we're going to be able to get this done. And when I first realized it was 2014. Am I taking too long?
No, you're
okay.
fine.
Okay.
You're
No,
fine.
you're good.
In 2014, we were like running the school. Everything was fine. We were teaching Ruby on Rails, which there were no Ruby on Rails jobs really at that time. I remember finding 8.
Yeah, you were ahead of the curve
Total.
on that, for sure.
And I was like, guys, okay, while I understand that is a cool, sexy thing, there are no jobs. And so I'm not into training people and they don't have anywhere to go. They have a
Right.
certificate. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no
not
doubt.
the point of this.
Right.
So I went around the community and had the opportunity to meet the CIO of FMBO at the time. Different
Wow.
person back then. Jim Cole, very great human being. But he and I met and I was like, Jim, what do you think about this idea? We teach Ruby on Rails. What if we taught that too? What if we found a way to partner on that? He was like, well, we don't need that. But if you guys taught .NET, we can work with that.
Wow.
And I went back to my team and I was like, guys, they want us to do .NET. And they're like, Shonna, that is like...
I was about to say, it
so
wasn't
old
just like, okay, let's do that.
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't. I had to
yeah.
sell them on it. But
Yeah.
once I did, and we got that program to work, and I helped
Yeah.
FMBO leverage the state grant to offset the cost. And not
Right,
that
right.
they need it, but it's just like, let's just bring all these resources to bear. So anyway, FMBO partnered with us. We found somebody to teach the class. They interviewed all the students for the program, all the candidates, selected the ones that they wanted to bring on as potential hires at the end of the program. We hired somebody, not me. I'm in sales, basically,
For sure.
sales and project management.
Yeah.
But we found somebody to teach the class. They taught it for 10 weeks. FMBO hired a handful of those individuals.
Dang.
And I know that some of them still work there. This is 2014.
Wow.
That's good.
So I was like, what's really cool, and I just needed it to work like one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now we can go to the market and say,
Proof of concept.
hey, and not a proof of concept, and also with the largest privately held bank at the time,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
conservative when you think about it. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll take a chance and partner with this startup.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So we took that model, replicated it. 3 years later, sold the company, and then I went to go work for the AIM Institute, who bought Interface School.
Yeah.
And that was it was hard. It's just hard to be a founder and then go into a company. And AIM was super supportive and great. But after a year and a half, I left there and just decided to go off on my own again as a talent development consultant, made up a title and just put it on the internet.
Look,
That's
yeah.
what consultants do.
Right.
Yeah, that's what a community enrichment specialist
Kind
is
of
now.
like. And ended up at Mutual of Omaha
Yeah.
as a contractor, then ended up there full time. And then this is a full circle moment. And I'm still like not quite at the end. So I'll stop after this
Tell
part.
your story.
Yeah.
But at this point, I ended up at Mutual, and I was like, what would be so cool at Mutual is if, like, my vision for Interface was for it to be a school where a business would say, like, the FMBO model, and that
Right.
would just be what everybody does because they know the skill set they need.
Yeah.
They train the people, hire them, or upskill somebody on the team.
Mm.
So within Mutual, I was we had a great partnership with Metropolitan Community College, and they were just starting a code school back in 2018. And I was like, okay, Mutual, what if we set up a program where we can help like customer service agents get into software engineering? And we used Metro's code school to train the people. And just like another fortunate set of
Right.
circumstances, the person who was building the curriculum at Metro just retired from Mutual of Omaha.
Wow.
So it was all kind of aligned.
Timing.
And
Yeah.
so we started that program in 2018. I still say we like I still work at Mutual, but
You
started
were
that.
part of it.
We helped start that program in
Yeah,
2018, and it's, as far as I know, still around. It's 5-6 years later, with great retention as well from the students who were supported by Mutual to take that training
Mhm.
and then get connected to mentors at the company, and then just get involved in the tech community, et cetera. So. Moved on from Mutual after moved to Florida and stuff during COVID, and then I was recruited back to Nebraska to help run the to run the Nebraska Tech Collaborative. Took that on in January of 2023, and then Exarban was awarded the Intern Nebraska grant, but the program,
Right.
in collaboration with the state. And in September of last year, after the person who was leading it exited Exarban, I volunteered to lead it. And I'm not volunteering anymore, but I volunteered to take it on because I was like, that alignment is so good with what the NTC does. So
Yeah.
NTC is focused on emerging, experienced, and
Right.
entrepreneurial talent. And
Yeah.
so emerging talent is somebody who's not in tech. That's an intern
Yeah.
to
Dang.
me. So I'm like, well, let's just package these up. And now I run those 2 initiatives, and hang out otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Don't ever feel like you're long-winded.
It's so long that I'm like.
Sometimes people will look at you though, and they'll see what you do, but never know what you went through to get there.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's good to. This is a good platform to tell it.
Yeah, it really is. And this is the place. And I also think I never heard that all these years I've known you,
He was one
met
of them.
you,
See?
and yeah, I didn't know that full story. Like, for example, I graduated from Omaha Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and we learned Ruby on Rails in Omaha Code School. I had no idea there was a connection there because they never really articulated themselves as like a competitor.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was always odd because it was both tech. I was new to the scene. So, yeah, it's great to hear your story and to get to know a little bit more about what went into that.
Yeah.
I think now is a great time to talk to Steve about your journey. So I think there's some overlap there, right? Because you went into a creative space.
Yeah.
So how did you get into design? I know you had, the first time I ever saw you was at Corporate 3 Design.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah.
walked in, I think you had a pair of shoes or something.
I did. I remember I was coming in to see Travis,
Mhm.
one of our co-workers that we have in common.
Yeah.
I had previously worked at Corporate 3.
Oh, okay.
And so I usually come across, because I live right across the street, so I come across and say what's up to the guys every now and again.
Gotcha.
I check in on them because I was recruited to Corporate 3, but in a sense of what happens at agencies more than people realize, I was recruited there to do a certain thing, and then when I got there, I was working on something totally different.
Mhm.
Now that is when my journey started to go toward becoming a contractor and an independent, because I became very, very antsy at the surroundings that I found myself in. If it was not right, I was not willing to wait for it to get right.
I gotcha.
So I left Corporate 3 fairly quickly, and then moved on to the Symphony because they had advertised an in-house position that was very lucrative, had lots of growth potential. I get there and they had me in the basement working with a photocopier and like making flyers on neon paper.
Dang.
I was there 2 weeks before I put in my 2 weeks. And I told them, I'll hang out until you get some prospects, but I'm gone. And at that moment, I knew, I'm like, okay, I'm a terrible employee. Not because I don't want to work, but because I'm not doing the work. I'm doing all the trappings of a job and not advancing my career. And so for me, that was the thing. I had some really great jobs that did advance my career. I worked at First National. I was initially an intern, since we're talking about internships. I interned at First National in the, I was in merchant processing division, and people don't realize how big that bank is, but that bank is massive, and they have internal departments that could be standalone companies. And so they called them wholly owned subsidiaries. I worked for a wholly owned subsidiary of First National, initially in the Central Park Plaza, and then we all moved into the tower. Lots of exposure there with things. Great job. They sent me to conferences, dual monitors when you didn't need dual monitors. Like, I had all the stuff. But I knew I would hit a cap salary-wise where I would be too expensive to move into the career path anywhere else, because they paid well.
Yeah.
Far better than the career path independently or at an agency.
Yeah.
So I jumped ship. Went to, packed my little knapsack and hit the road, hit the creative road. And by the time I got to Corporate 3 is what started that tumble toward being independent.
I see.
Because the expectations weren't being met. By the time when I was done with the Symphony, I had one more agency job at Dakey Creative. And at that point, that's where I learned about contracts. And I learned about the economy of experience. I was too expensive for what they could bear. And I was a stopgap until they could get their two creative.
This is a guy who knows his worth right now.
They had two guys coming, and they're great guys. I knew them. We were friends. We were excited to work together. I found out they got hired on. Great, let's go. And then my 6 months ended, and they came in. They literally were unpacking their bags, like, where's Steve? Like, when's he get to work? Oh, Steve's not with us anymore. I was too expensive. They got two designers for the price of one.
Wow.
That's just what it was.
Dang.
So I remember sitting in the parking lot of Dakey thinking, all right, like, I just got married. I got a conference in Vegas, of all places, coming up. The How Design Conference was in Vegas. How am I going to spend this? I'm jobless. conference is in 2 weeks. I'm still going to this thing. So I remember calling my wife. I'm like, we got to talk when you get home. It's all good. No big deal. We'll get some dinner. We'll talk. And I remember telling her, again, very similar to my mom, saying what with the previous story we talked about, like I would say I already knew.
Yeah. Right.
I told her, I said, lost my job today. Contract was over. I don't know if I got let go, got fired, contract ran out, but I'm not there anymore. I don't want to go back. Like, I sat in my car. I cried it out. I beat the steering wheel up. And now I'm cool, but I'm not jumping back into the rat race because I'm not being fulfilled at jobs.
Yeah.
And she would say, she looked at me and said, do you have a plan? Yes. Well, then you're good. Let's cook dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's rock. And that was coming up on 18 years ago.
Man.
I've been gainfully unemployed for 18 years.
Well, good for you.
That's so
Thanks.
wonderful.
And so that's my journey. I started college as an architecture major.
Nice.
Very similar to the Ruby on Rails story. You had to be so deeply grandfathered in to get a job in architecture that there was just not going to be any prospects.
Yeah.
On top of that, I ran into algebra for engineers. That was a no-go. So transferring schools, needing a different scholarship to finish out school and pay for school. When I transferred schools, they didn't have architecture. Luckily, I had a mentor and a counselor who moved me toward design because of my use of the grid system in architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a seamless transition and then on from there. So
Love it.
Interesting. Well, I didn't have quite that experience at Corporate 3 Design, so very interesting. But it was interesting to meet you there and then to find out that you were working there as well at some point.
Because years later when you guys actually did start up and we had that in common, I remember finding out again about you from Travis.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy. That's a crazy overlap.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then we talked about the sneakerhead thing.
Yep.
Well, cool. I know we're tight on time because we've got some high profile people here. So I just want to jump really quick to talk about just one topic related to what you do at Beats and Sheets Karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
You had a big plan when you first came to us. We helped you with some
for
of the branding and marketing when you were getting started. Can you just talk for a second about what that bigger picture was to create this social gathering?
Oh, yeah. Well, it started with, like I said, I'm a community enrichment specialist. So for me, it started with the actual hub. Everybody, if they got a social entrepreneur spirit, it always ties back to one thing. And that one thing is a lifestyle brand that I live by, which is live 86,400. And my motto is you have 86,400 seconds in each day, value time, and live on purpose. I've had 3 open heart surgeries, 2 catheter ablations, on top of a lot of different adversity in my life that made me recognize the value of time and kind of questioning why am I even here, So for me, I'm very spiritual, and in the midst of that, it was during the senior year of my college basketball career. It was cut short due to the health conditions that I kind of said. But from there, with the lifestyle brand, I just seen the impact and influence that I had with people and how they responded to my story. And so from there, I wanted to put myself in a situation of essentially doing different facets in all different walks of life that cater to the empowerment, advancement, or the happiness of just people. And so when it came to Beats and Sheets Karaoke, it honestly started from, I went to trap karaoke. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Oh, okay. So trap karaoke essentially, it was like Beats and Sheets Karaoke, but it's essentially people getting on stage doing karaoke from a trap perspective.
Okay.
It's an East Coast, West Coast thing. I went, it touched the Midwest by going to Kansas, and I was there. And while I was there, I was sitting there wow, I wonder if they'll come to Omaha. I sought out to them. Nobody came to Omaha.
Wow.
And so as I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, not only did they not come to Omaha, I can do the same thing that they doing. I know myself. And so I wanted to put myself in a situation where I can hang out because just to keep it funky, like, you know, there was a point in my life where I felt like, all right, I'm over the club scene, you know. I do want to hang out, but I don't want to hang out in that element. You know, that's not who I am anymore. That's really too old for me. You know, just all these different categories of why I don't want to go out, but I still want to hang out. And I'm tired of hearing about the phrase of, let's go out of town to go out.
Right.
Why you got to leave your own city to go out? Yeah. So I wanted to create a space where I can bring that big city vibe back to Omaha, which I kind of consider like a hybrid city where you can have eventful big city ideas come together because we rally behind whatever makes sense.
Yeah.
I just had to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
In the midst of that circumstance, my childhood best friend, Kyle LaFleur, got shot and killed. He was hanging out in the clubs. I'm not even gonna like name drop the club he was at and all that. If you're from Omaha, you know the story. But for those who don't know the story, essentially came back from Iraq. You know, he was enlisted and wanted to celebrate with the city, celebrate just the success, people he grew up with, people he ain't seen in a long time and all of that. Ended up in a tragedy where he got shot and killed. From that point on, I was thinking, I don't want to not go out. Life does have to go on, but how can I create a safe social networking environment where people will feel like they can be themselves and not have to worry about anything?
Yeah.
And so from that, it took me literally 1 year to come up with the name Deets and Sheets Karaoke. I mean, I tried different names like Mic Check Karaoke, Rock the Mic, Rock the Crowd. You know, like I probably put Ridiculous in there or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, I wanted something that would make people go like, oh, okay, what's that? Well, oh, controversy sells. Because if you think about beats and sheets, you know, you can go so many different ways with it, but the basis is hip hop and R&B. And I wanted to unapologetically be myself, be rooted in, it is what it is, the black culture, the hip hop culture, but also allow all walks of life to come be a part. And so hooked up with these two guys, told them about my idea. And the way I explained it was, hey, I got this concept that can do more than just a moment and allow people to like basically like have music nostalgia, you know, go back to that one song that you remember we all can go back to. And so I started off at an event. I was at Reverb Lounge. It actually was a flood that happened in Omaha, and it was downtown, and it was raining so hard, but still 150 people came.
Really?
In the flood.
Wow.
In the flood. And I didn't know if it was because of who I am or because of what I was trying to sell as a service, you know?
Awesome.
And so once people came, they left saying, man, when the next one? And when's the next one? Oh, this was fun. The best time I had in my life. People were saying that.
That's a good show. For sure.
Yeah, like the best time you had in your life? Huh? Like, but then again, though, yeah, but that's the thing about it. Like, I know what it means to me, and I put my heart into it. But like, what it means for somebody to come up to me and actually say that to me, like, it's why I keep it going. And
So what is it? Like,
So-
what's the experience?
so it's a night on stage featuring you representing your favorite artist.
Okay.
So what I do with myself and my good friend and DJ partner, DJ Ivan Alvarez, we play the last 5 decades of rap, trap, hip hop, R&B, and the fifth is any other genre you like. Is it
Okay.
pop? Is it gospel? We do it all, right? So we take you back through that musical nostalgia, and then you pre-sign up before the show. And whenever your name is called upon in the show, you get on stage and you get your 15 minutes of fame,
Oh,
and
that's
you literally
awesome.
perform like a concert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But on top of that, you know, we got games and we got little tricks and things to keep you entertained the whole night. It's a
Gotcha.
4-hour event, pop-up experience. We do it 4 times a year. You know, I mean, there's different reasons why. The demand is high enough to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But the capacity that is at now, we average about 525 people a show.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for how long, would you say?
Yeah. You've had to turn people away. I've seen
How
that.
many
Really?
years? Like 2?
2
Yeah,
years.
it's very
That's amazing.
2 years.
That's
Good
cool.
for you.
It's an exclusive thing. So
That's awesome.
Is it Stable Gray's marketing that does it, or is it?
I mean, who's to
Hey,
say?
It's, we
Hey,
don't know.
and
It's
I was
both.
about to speak to that too. And so a big thing that helped me was Stable Gray. When I came to Chardell and Teddy, I was like, I know what I'm trying to do, but it's a collaborative effort, kind of like you guys talked about, that I feel like I know what I'm not an expert in these areas, and seeing what you guys do, this is what I need. And I actually challenged them to like expedite some of the things that they were capable of already, just because of the demand of what I believed in.
Yeah.
And so them believing in me and me believing in them, we push a beautiful product out to people.
That's
Don't
great.
make me cry.
It's facts. You know me, man. I'm not a courtesy guy. I keep it real.
Yeah.
And so like the thing is just kind of to ask you two from your perspective, what do you think it does for the people, the city, and all that?
Well, me personally, I want to make sure. I know you got a hard cut. So
It has shifted.
okay.
Yeah.
I have a few more minutes.
That means
Okay.
you want to come to Beats and Sheets.
She's like, I need to hear a little bit more about this.
This is exactly what we wanted to have happen.
There it is. Yeah. Fade
Got
to
her.
black.
Bingo. No, I'm playing.
But I will say this: when I first heard the idea, I did think it was going to be, your typical hood event. You
Sure.
know.
He
But-
told me that too, by the way.
I'm sure he did. That's why I liked him so
No,
much.
it's good. Yeah.
And I was like, you know who I? No. I'm playing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but the live show, coming to the first one, I was very impressed. It was not what you think it is. Of course, it is a club environment. You get that kind of experience,
Mhm.
but it was a lot more like karaoke. It
Yeah.
was more like a karaoke event with drinking and socializing.
And a
mixed in.
concert every
Yeah.
so.
And paparazzi. There was
Yeah.
a lot of
No, you had the pops out?
yeah. There was a lot of cameras.
Hey,
It was-
listen,
it was
it's one
big
of these
time.
things where you look around, but like, there's 4 things you'll say. Man, I ain't seen you in a minute.
Okay.
Or wow, the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club is here.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
like,
the mix of the crowd
It's me.
mix is
Yeah.
different.
the identity is me.
Yeah, the whole thing is like, well, first of all, when Josh is telling you about something, man, what he's passionate about, you can't help but, jump on board.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's an experience.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an experience. It's a production. Like everything is planned out. It ain't random. They don't just play music and
Right.
whatever happens. No, they got, it's a production. The DJ, it's everything's scripted. What he's gonna say, they practice. Everything.
For
Do
sure.
people have to audition for this? I have so many questions.
I know there's so many questions.
Well, I answer it.
Yeah,
You've
go
been
ahead.
practicing your whole life in
Uh-huh.
the shower,
Okay.
in the car, cleaning up.
Yeah.
You've been doing this all your whole life, so
Uh-huh.
you ready? You
Do
practice.
you know how to sing?
Oh, yeah.
Sean? Oh,
I think
okay.
it-
I
I
was
would.
wondering where she got that from.
She total
Hey.
package.
Whoa, wait.
Oh,
Let's
yeah, we
not
already
Total
forget
package.
that guy over there.
Come on now.
Go to
Oh,
his
yeah,
Instagram.
for sure.
Always dancing, always singing.
Now wait a second.
When we first met, all we did was talk about music.
That's
We
true.
wasn't even talking about the business
Yeah,
we were
that's
supposed
true.
to be on.
That's
You know,
true.
that's another subject.
That's true.
This is
I mean, that's
you
the
too.
culture, like you said.
Yeah.
That's what we came up doing.
Yeah.
Everybody came up doing that.
And I was telling him, I said, my guy, I got this thing coming.
Yep.
Yeah, now we talking about it.
I remember that. You did say
Yes,
that.
sir.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it's spectacular.
That's
And the heart of it is, like I said, the lifestyle brand of
Mhm.
Live 86400. And so through that, that's where I execute initiatives through strategic partnerships
Mhm.
to impact community. That's an LLC
Right.
that came about from the perspective of I had a conversation with Susan Buffett. What we got in common is Central High School, and so we sit down talking, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. I'm about 22 years old.
Yeah.
And she said, Josh, listen, you see that picture right there? The picture said opportunities. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Right.
And she said, Josh, it makes sense, but it doesn't mean nothing. Why? Because if you don't take the opportunity, you could miss out on something you couldn't.
Right.
It's just an opportunity.
Yeah.
Those always come. But if you can package everything you're passionate about into some type of umbrella and just put everything under it, you got something. And so if you want to know where Live 86400 came from, I got a friend that also I don't know what the term is, but like he was a sniper in the Army. That's the best way I can put it.
Okay.
And so we were sitting down and I was just asking him questions, kind of like, hey man, what does it feel like to have to actually defend the honor of our country and take somebody's life on an assignment? And yeah, real talk, real question. How are you?
Yeah,
She walked in when it got deep, huh?
We
Yeah.
have
I was like, ooh.
a
Yeah.
new guest on the show today, Racquel Henderson. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
We know you just came from a conference, so appreciate you taking time out. I know it's not easy to just
Yeah,
make your way
for
over
sure.
here.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about like the karaoke thing I do in the brand that is surrounded around. But yeah, so my friend, he said, why? He said, I call it Americas. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, why y'all over here living y'all different lives? You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Everybody live their own free life in America. We're up here living, y'all living every 24 hours. He said, I'm living 86,400. I said, huh? What's that mean? He said, man, it's 86,400 seconds in a day. He said, I got to sleep with one eye open type stuff. I was like, man, that's deep. I lived that. I went through that. Open heart surgeries, da-da-da, you know, and all that. And so we hung out a whole summer. And at the end of the summer, I said, hey, man, can I run with that? He said, man, it was just free game. I was just telling you what I went through. So from that point on, every time I start talking about the relatability of my life and things like that, I start using the numbers. And I said I was living. And then one day, just to make a long story short, I was going around to homes of survived cancer families, you know, just people who had passed away from cancer. I was just trying to empower them and all that type of stuff. And I was telling them about like trying to, like, I was saying living 86,400. And so a lady I was with when I got in the car, she was kind of crying and like, man, just listening to your passion and it's crazy. You live 86,400. I said, that's it, God.
Wow.
I said, I'm patenting that tomorrow. And it's been patented since 2015. So yeah, so it's
Wonderful. That's great.
everything I do comes from the brand of Live 86,400. You know, so,
Great story.
yeah. So
Yeah, thanks for tying all that back in, because I was going to ask you.
that's why it ties back in for sure.
Well, you know, we got a new person on the set, so we gotta
Yeah.
go. We gotta go over here for a second.
Y'all can't see, but she had a red carpet that just kind of. No, I'm playing.
Appreciate
One
you.
day.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, introduce yourself for those folks who don't know you. Those few folks who don't know you. What's your name and what do you do aside from all the boards that you're on?
I'm Racquel Henderson. I am the pathway coordinator for the Walter Scott Scholarship at Metro Community College. I work with first-gen underrepresented students that have a full ride to Metro. Additionally, I teach at UNO, race, ethnicity, and criminal justice. I am the employment and education coordinator for Black and Pink, the nation's largest prison abolitionist organization, where I assist individuals returning or migrating back into society from incarceration with employment skills and different resources to be successful. I am the lead interviewer for the Lived Experience Project, where we work to center the voices of youth and families that have been impacted by the system. I mentor with the Keys Foundation, and I'm a mom of two, a neighbor, a friend, and happy to be here.
Apparently very busy with all of those.
Y'all don't do nothing.
I just host a podcast.
Yeah, right.
You know, talk to
Yeah,
people
she lived
sometimes.
86,400.
and then some.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
feel free to pull your mic up a little closer. You don't have to work as hard for that. Well, thanks for joining us today. In a second, we're going to talk about internships. I know that's a big initiative that you've been a part of. We've got to do some business together, of course, with helping to promote and do outreach. So we want to talk about that in a second. But before we do that, I want to just ask Teddy, you've heard from the three first guests that were on the show today. Does anything stand out to you or anything you have to comment on what has been said so far? Just want to give you a chance before you switch modes.
No, I'm good. We can switch modes, but it's just, you know, inspiring and great just to listen, because I've followed each one of you all, and I learned something new and different, you know, just by listening to your stories and journeys.
Appreciate that, man.
Nice. heartwarming, Teddy.
Teddy bear.
Teddy.
Oh gosh.
So, Steve, you had just kind of talked about your transition to RDQLUS, which is some of the best work. You didn't talk about the work that you've done around town. Obviously, 75 North comes to mind. And many other initiatives. Before we jump into internships, I would just want to talk about remote working, which I think we all can relate to. Can you just talk about how you navigate that process of working on something as high profile of like 75 North, but still delivering quality that is virtually unmatched?
I appreciate that. For me, it came early on in the process, you know, what we talked about earlier, as I was starting to form my business model and how I was going to work. I knew that it was not going to be tied to a particular building or place. I was very, very adamant when I started my business that I was going to work out of a backpack or a briefcase or whatnot, because what was important was already attached to me. It was my brain. And where that is, and it is healthy and functional, the ideas are there. You know, of course your environment can tailor that, it can color that a bit. But the truth is, I figured out that in those trappings, in those offices, I was not being authentic, I was not comfortable. And where I was not comfortable, I was not doing my best work. So working remotely, even working for myself, had nothing to do with being my own boss. It had everything to do with fulfilling the process so that the work I finished up with was the best quality work, because I was in a space where I could go. Absolutely. And so, you know, for me, I considered that I was way ahead of the curve. I had always had a home office built. I was known for, you know, posting up at a Starbucks or whatnot. Even going as far as just being cheesy or cliche, I had a nameplate made. And when I was working at Starbucks, I would pull the nameplate out. Like, if you see this right here on this table, like, don't talk to me, I'm working. I'm actually working. You know? And people were like, the Starbucks that I used to go to all the time, they would respect that. And so people would protect my space because I made that a boundary. And so the people there, they'd see someone making a beeline for my table, and I've had people stop and like, no. Like, Steve's working right now. I'm like, oh, I respect it. You know, here's a little something for you. You know, so that for me, working that way led to other things, because it wasn't just about working out of my home office. I wanted to be able to go to New York and still work. One summer in 2015, I was living in France, servicing 75 North when I was working with Othello to get Highlander, 75 North, and get all those branding applications done. I was actually living in Lyon, France that summer.
Wow.
So all I had to do was plan for the 7 hours ahead, and no one knew I was gone.
Wow.
So, you know, you can work around the world if you want to.
Wow.
As long as you got that internet, you're good.
And you're a pioneer of it. There was very few people at that time doing that type of remote work.
Yeah, it was hard for people to understand at first.
And the flight tickets were totally different.
Completely different.
Let's be clear.
Excuse me. Yes, completely different. And then, you know, when COVID hit and everyone was starting to figure that out, oh, we can work remotely. I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, now it's cool.
That's what
Now
for me at first.
Set up for it.
Because I had the students, the connection is how I do my job. So when they were like, we're going remote, I was like, what? No, I don't want to do that. Like, you know? And then when it was time to come back, I was like, what? No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Right. I mean, like, oddly, the COVID year and a half, those 18 months were probably some of my most lucrative, because I didn't need to figure out how to do it. I had already been doing it. So I was ahead of the curve.
Remote.
Absolutely.
I'm just being honest.
Absolutely. And so I was already ahead of the curve because of how I chose to work already.
I think that's also attributed to the line of work. Because even though I was cool doing it, I don't feel like it was as successul as, you know, because I'm meeting new students coming fresh out of high school that had to finish their senior year remotely, didn't have a graduation. I'm trying to build this relationship building is how I am help them be successful.
My wife is a teacher,
so I'm trying to do.
Absolutely right.
So, I mean, I remember meeting one girl and I said her name wrong, and she like, that ain't how you say my. I'm like, dang. Like, let me turn turn off this Zoom right quick because it got me messed up. You know, I'm gonna need you to chill. But had we been in person, we probably could have laughed it off.
And that would've
you
been
know what
30
I'm saying?
seconds.
Exactly.
That would've been done.
Whereas I had the whole redirect. Like, okay, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
That's so funny. Go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
I was just coming to you because you said exactly, and you know we've seen clips of you in different tropical places.
Where is what you're trying
There
to
have
say.
been
have seen
palm
you-
trees in the background in some of your remote working. So, how on earth do you do that? It's incredible.
It's a setting.
Yeah, right. Background filters. No, you know what? I don't anymore. So when I was working for Mutual of Omaha, I lived in South Dakota and Florida, and so South Dakota then Florida. But yeah, I was just able to, you know, be on the beach and go there for lunch and then go back to my office at home.
Light flex.
Like bragging.
Yeah, right.
Just facts, you
No,
know.
flexing is above bragging.
That's true. That's true.
But
You
the
know.
thing is,
Yeah.
when I was recruited back to Nebraska to run NTC, I was like, I understand that this has to be in person because to both the points that you both have made, Racquel, and Josh, is that this community building stuff has to happen in person.
Yeah,
and so I couldn't do it over Zoom. It just would not be effective. So, and then here I have to like travel across the state. And Nebraska is definitely a spot where it's all about relationships. So like
absolutely.
those initial,
sure.
you know. And I was going to say too, I've got two more things. I like have to leave in a second.
Drop
But two more things. One is it is so true about students. Like they need to be mentored and it has to happen in person. And for sure. And one of the things we heard with interns during COVID is that while they loved being remote, they're like, that's great. I can work
Yeah.
from home. Many of them felt just disconnected from the company culture because they weren't like just, you know, even sitting around people having conversations and hearing what they talk about because
Right.
everything's very transactional over a Teams or Zoom call,
Absolutely.
right? So I think that I love that y'all are doing it in person, even if hybrid is allowed, remote's allowed. It's like, yeah, but let's meet up at least once so I can build the connection.
Right.
The second thing I was going to say, I forgot. Nope, I lost it.
Dang.
Well, that first one
It was a gym too.
Yeah, and that's important to speak to. Most people don't realize like 80, I forgot the statistic, but like 89% of college students are successful because they have connections to the campus.
Yes.
People don't realize how that equates to like work
Yeah.
and, you know,
Right.
peers and coworkers and associates and things like that. And so,
that's powerful. Yeah,
I wish I could grab it.
can't grab it.
I'll be in my car and then I'll be like, oh, I'm coming back.
She's gonna come back.
You can call in.
On line one.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, no, we appreciate that insight. I think, you know, just the last thing I wanted to ask you about was with Intern Nebraska. That was a major, as far as the timing of it, it was a major event that happened because it really opened the door up, from my understanding, for some types of internships that hadn't happened yet. And I know the majority of, because we've tried to hire interns. We actually have some interns that are starting soon. But the model, the traditional model of internship is like a strict reimbursement model with pretty much a lot of babysitting when you first start off. So not a lot of skill. It seems like that program that you're springboarding has kind of bridged that gap.
Yeah, so it's been around for a long time. So the state has run Intern Nebraska for over 11 years, 10 plus years. When Exarban came on board, the reason for that was the state wanted to have a partner that could help it feel more engaged throughout the state. Plus, they added a lot of different reimbursement categories. And so Exarban is all about marketing and outreach of the initiative to businesses and then to students. So just a quick summary of what we got done in the first 60 days. So we started this program in October of last year, 2023. First round of applications, we ended up, we being the state, awarded 95 companies across the state of Nebraska, 18 communities, almost $4 million, 614 jobs.
North Omaha.
There are some in North Omaha. Majority of the jobs are in Omaha and Lincoln, which is fine. You know, that's where most of the people live. But from my perspective, we need to get Greater Nebraska to participate and
For sure.
and be more engaged. So we're taking a lot of road trips out to meet with people and also working on hiring 2 people out there. But anyway, great program. We, Exarban, are providing a lot of resources too. So we've got different events for businesses to learn how to be good hosts of internships. Podcasts featuring interns talking about how to be a good intern. Because we all have a responsibility in this to have a good experience. So anyway, a lot more to come, but that's what we're up to.
Awesome. Well, that is very exciting, and hopefully we can do business with.
Yeah, are you guys in awardee? I can't remember if you're in the list for last time.
No,
Okay.
we were late to the party,
Okay.
and that's for a number of reasons. But yeah, we'd like to
Yeah.
look into that going forward.
Next application window opens April 1st.
April 1st. Okay,
Yep,
coming
so you'll
right
have
up.
60
Dropping
days
knowledge.
to apply. And we want all the MCC students, so
I got 2 looking right now.
great. All
Construction
internships
and
are paid.
electrical.
There are, I know those are in there. All paid
I'll be reaching out
internships.
to you.
Please do.
Yeah, see,
Please
that's
do.
the thing, a lot different than when I was coming with these paid internships. I see the emphasis even with the program you're a part of and
Yeah.
MCC offering these paid
It's so
internships.
important.
That's the big key.
100%. Like none of the internships that are part of this program can be unpaid.
Mm-hmm.
And the state doesn't, when they're looking at applications, you have to pay at least minimum wage, like it's $12 an hour now.
Right.
The problem with $12 an hour and even $15, $19 is that you can make that at Wendy's, Walmart.
Right. There's no,
And
No
so,
motivation.
and
Right.
there's no
Because then
separation.
they're like,
Man.
when am I going to school for?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Or
there's
why
no
would I go do
professional
this
separation.
hard
Right.
internship
Yeah.
for maybe 15, 17
Right.
when I could go do a simple job? And,
For
you know,
sure.
so we get it. So we're trying to really build the case for students to participate in these types of experiences because the wage potential is great.
Well, and getting the
So-
employers
Mhm.
to see that there's growth in valuing your interns
Yeah.
and employees. Like
Mhm.
First National was way ahead of the curve.
Mhm.
97, I had a paid internship,
Yeah.
a well-paid internship.
That is ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
And that was
Yeah, for
I
sure.
didn't even have to haggle that.
Yeah.
It was above minimum wage.
Right.
exactly.
I mean, as an intern, so
Mhm.
immediately
Yeah.
they had a hook.
exactly.
When I went back to school, I had a job offer. It was a no-brainer.
But the
Mhm.
basis of it seemed like their intentions of you being an intern
Right.
is to see the
Because they
potential.
want-
They invested.
Yeah, they're
It's-
investing.
Yeah, it's not just like a summer program
Right.
just to keep people out of
And
trouble.
even
Right.
as a
Yeah.
even as a
Yeah.
kid, I felt that they were investing in me.
Right.
Yeah.
So that first offer was an absolute yes.
Right.
And doesn't that make a big difference? Like having that
difference.
mentorship
Huge
and then
difference.
also like a high quality experience. So you're
Yeah.
not like running and getting coffee.
Well, and
Right.
on top of that,
Absolutely.
for
You know?
them,
Right.
they
Mhm.
paid back by after I had left, gone on a bit of my journey. I went back for another 4 years.
Mhm.
They headhunted me back to the
Yeah.
company and were willing to pay me the industry rate, which was double what they had paid me before because I had gone out and got the experience.
Mm.
They redoubled down on the investment and said, "Great, you're more experienced. Come back
Right.
and we'll pay you that."
And your culture fit, you have all the things. Like
Oh.
it's all,
Yeah.
it all makes
Yeah,
sense.
made
some
sense.
notes taken there
Yeah.
for sure. Raquel, your students, I'm sure you've heard some feedback on the internship programs. What are they specifically looking for?
High wage, for sure. I have students that, all of my students work, and their jobs are paying them 19, 20, 25, and all of the programs require an internship. So when they're making $25 an hour working, and then we say it's time to do your internship, and the internships are paying $15, they're like, no. Like they're literally trying to sub them out for a course. Like that's crazy that a student would rather be in class and have homework than in the field because of that. And a lot of them, students are very non-traditional these days. They're taking care of families, they have kids, they're helping, in the house. And so it's not just a preference for some of them. For some of them, it's life and death. For some of them, my siblings won't eat if I don't work. My mom can't pay rent by herself, or I don't have family and I live on my own.
And then
Exactly.
some of those high wage service or job, blue collar jobs, they're on the job training,
Mhm.
so you can move up
Yeah.
in that job. So they're like, I've already got a path over here.
Yes.
Right.
And another thing is the quality of treatment, like especially for trade students. I have students that have literally been bullied, in the workplace, talked to just crazy by, some employers or the coworkers, especially when they're 17, 18 in college and then they're going into these electrical fields or plumbing fields and they're working with, grown people and then they have more experience. Sometimes they're put into higher positions and that becomes a challenge as well. because now I'm your boss, but I'm only 18. I just started. You've been here 20 years.
I've been here.
You're older than my dad, you know?
Oh, man.
So,
Everybody talking crazy.
Yeah, I almost say where it was at. I don't want to do that, but
I'm telling you, and it's tough. And then they come back to me, and I gotta do the fixing and help with the healing. And then I'm like, okay, let's get back out there. And they're like, no.
yeah.
And so just it's the basics. Treat people how you want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? And how would you want somebody to treat your child or sibling coming into an internship? You know, it's just like people say, I talk to the janitor the same way I do the CEO. Like you can't differentiate.
That's not a figure of speech.
For real.
If you really live by that,
Live by that.
You
Absolutely.
experience will be
Yeah,
different.
you'd be surprised at the gatekeeping at professional.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas there's less gatekeeping at some of those lower trade jobs that are
Right.
paying well, because we all in that together at that
Yeah,
point.
Right.
yeah, no doubt.
That's solid.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Can we do like a group photo?
You're reading my mind. Let's
Yeah, because
please
I
do
actually
that.
have to get going too.
This is a great conversation.
It is.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. I never see you in person.
I know.
2.0, you're welcome to come back.
Absolutely.
We need to do that.
Yeah, let's do that and like put it on my calendar.
Right.
No, that's
Because we
what I told
already
her.
know. She
Yeah.
packed up.
Yeah.
She listed off all the jobs.
All right, ready? Teddy, you have to smile.
He's smiling.
All right, so that was interesting. We had a good conversation with those folks. We just kind of pared down and want to focus in a little bit more on the internships and influencer marketing for, I guess I would just say, social media influencer marketing and jobs from that point of view. So I guess the first thing that we could just talk about to unpack that a little bit is, Racquel, how did you get into this format that you've created where you share information on your page and people just they just eat it up like a juicy bone?
It's great. I got a job fresh out of college, and I was tasked with helping individuals return into the community with employment. So I would meet with them, help them do a resume, cover letter, talk to them about how to explain their background to employers, do some employment skills training, and then help them find a job. Problem was, there wasn't any jobs for them. Like, that box is something crucial.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally just got a phone book and I started cold calling employers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, I've got this great, I see you're hiring for this. I've got this great candidate. He's been trained on this, this, and this. He can do this, this, and this. Will you give him a chance? Like, basically. And it worked.
Mm.
And the employers was like, okay, like they was reaching out to me like, you got another one like John? Can you send me another one like, And it got to the point where I had more jobs than I had people. And this was a time, it was like 2015. So this was when every day you getting up and you get on social media and everybody like, who hiring? Who hiring? Who hiring? And for me, I wouldn't do that. I would just get up and go on CareerLink or Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized there was a disconnect with some people, and they weren't not working because they didn't want to. It was because they were ill-equipped and did not know how to effectively look for work. And so I started taking the extra job leads and putting it on Facebook because I realized social media, that's it. And that, like, people get up and that's the first thing they do is go on Facebook. Let me check my Snap. Let me look at my Instagram. So I knew, one, somebody's going to see it. And then I felt like the problem with some jobs is you want to apply, but you don't know how much they're paying. You don't know exactly what you got to do. You don't know exactly if you qualified. So I wanted to make sure there was all of that information there. That way you knew whether it was for you or not. Gatekeeping is a real thing. Like, how many times have we got on Facebook and somebody says, my job is hiring, inbox me.
Yeah.
Even with free resources. Oh, this organization just paid my MUD bill, but inbox me. So for one, you want to pick and choose who you give the information to.
Yeah.
You want to control when it's given. No, I made sure that everything was there so that way I didn't even have to know whether they used it or not.
Yeah.
But here it is. Here's what it is. Here's how much it pays. Here's the duties. Here's the requirements. Here's how you apply.
Yeah.
And it grew. Employers started reaching out like, I guess like people would go places and when they say like, how did you hear about this? They would put my name down.
Right. That's
So they like, who is that?
this person?
And so employers started reaching out to me like, can you post this information? Can you, you know? And then organizations was like, hey, can you put this out there? You know, it just became a thing. And so when I left that job, I was like, okay, I do something different now. I'm in education. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Baby, my inbox I had like 10,000 inboxes. Like, who's hiring? Do you know anything? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So I don't like that. Back then I did it like all day, every day. Now it's got to be top tier, a certain pay, or like something that's going to be able to, like, even with community stuff, it's got to be able to serve, you know, a certain number of people.
Sure.
Just different things like that, just because of time constraints and
just
stuff.
because of what you've been able to do, you've been able to expand a little bit outside of just jobs, right?
So yeah,
like
now it's a whole bunch
getting,
of things.
Right. So, but it's things that you feel like is a part of your brand and things.
Absolutely. Things that I'm passionate about. Education, employment, resources, and helping individuals get to that next stage in life. It has to be free.
Right.
Like, I don't post anything that has anything to do with money.
Gotcha.
I don't want no money. Don't give me no money. You don't got to pay for nothing. It has to be a free event. A job, a free education opportunity, something. I don't do the GoFundMe thing. People ask me all the time, can you share this no. Because I just feel like, you know, with what I do comes influence. And I would hate for someone to be influenced to give based on something I post, and then it could be a scam or just not, you know, on the up and up. And so I don't do anything with funds.
Yeah, right
Interesting.
on. Yeah.
Well, that's how you started off, and it sounds like the core of it was just like empathy. It was like wanting to really get valuable information in the right
help
people's
people.
hands. Yeah,
Absolutely. When I came home from prison, you know, reentry was not trendy. It was not wrapped neat in a bow and all these fundings and grants for it. So I had to literally create my own opportunities. And it was hard. And I understand that everyone does not have that level of resilience. And I'm very extroverted. My mama told me, closed mouth don't get fed. So I'm a create a door.
Right.
I'm a knock. But some people won't. And so just making sure that those people also had access to quality, you know, opportunities and different things like that to better themselves.
That's beautiful. Well, I love it. Yeah, I think it's great to have somebody from the community, by the community, doing that kind of work and making sure that people are put in a better position. So appreciate that.
That's what it's about. I mean, you know, my mom used to say everybody is like literally one bad decision away from
Ain't that the truth?
a different circumstance or outcome. And so you never know. I mean, and I literally go places, I see people like, oh my God, you posted this and, you know, it changed my life. Or, you know, I got this job, you posted. Half the time I don't even know, but they'll come and tell me. And it's just really inspiring because I believe that we all can win. And it's about access and opportunity. And unfortunately, in our community, we don't have a lot of it. And so what we do have, I want everyone to know about and have access to it.
And it's said that there's a lot of opportunities out there. I know we were talking off camera a little bit a second ago about some of the money dropping in North Omaha right now, LB 531, and all of the different money flowing from the DED. I think there's something like over $230 million coming to the community. What initiatives are you looking to make sure happen to make sure that people hear about these things and get access to these jobs? For example, I've seen like you post about almost, I wouldn't say like watchdog style, but posting things about what the DD is doing, what different things are happening. What is the goal that you're trying to accomplish with those types of posts?
Awareness. I think that is the number one like killer of our community, the gatekeeping. The people know, you know, they hear about a great opportunity. I ain't gonna tell nobody because, you know, I want to make sure I get it, or I don't want them to get it. Even if they ain't even applying for it, they don't, you know, like we like there is so much power in unity and coming together and sharing resources. Even if you say like, who, you know, instead of one person applying, maybe we could team up and all three of us do the same thing and we can, you know, do this together. Like there's just not enough of that happening. And so I just want people to be aware of what is out there so that they can have a shot. Like put your name in a hat.
Right.
Like that's big. People don't put their names in a hat because sometimes they don't know there is a hat. Like here's the hat, put your name in it because you just never know.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely been some opportunities we've either missed or just we're too late just because we
I'm
didn't know
telling
in
you,
time.
and that's why I post what I post, because people just don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. I seen somebody going off. Nobody told us about this. Nobody told us about that.
Right.
I posted it
Right,
4
right.
times.
Yeah.
Now it's too late. So just, and people need to also be mindful and like look for the information too.
true.
Like faith
That's
without
true.
works is dead. You gotta, he told me, well, you should have called me. What? Should I have?
Come on now.
Should I have? Because I have time to do that.
Right.
So just accountability and just making sure people is aware of things.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, yeah, let's talk about internships for a second. And Shonna Dorsey was just here. She just left. Intern Nebraska. MCC's done a ton of internship programs.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know they have paid internships as well.
Yes.
What don't we know about MCC when it comes to internships and I guess just like the job pipeline that they have?
MCC is a hidden gem,
Right.
which is why I try to post about everything, but there's always so much going. I work there, and sometimes I'm shocked at the things we have going on because I'm like, why ain't nobody tell me this?
Man, for real,
It is a plethora. Programming, short-term training, internships. MCC literally will train you to work at direct companies. That we have partnerships with Logiers. just all different types of places.
Wow.
And they really want you to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the dopest thing. Like, MCC is really, they're it. That we have programs that pay you to get a certification.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are you getting the certification for free, CDL, phlebotomy, Med-Aid, whatever, but you're getting paid an hourly wage for sitting in class and learning.
Wow. Well, we actually have signed up for one of their internship programs. So we have a couple interns starting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't know for a long time that was a resource because the challenge from the business side that we face is there's this kind of chicken or the egg thing, right? It's like, do you hire the talent or do you go out and get the business first? So the piece that MCC is helping us with is to be able to figure out what talent do we have available to us, and then being able to scale up from there from that side.
Yes.
So it lowers our risk. It makes it easier for us to go after more business. It frees up our time. And then the third thing is it gives us just a greater capacity to service our clients. We can get things done faster and we can do it at a higher level when we have enough talent.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're helping
I would
us.
even add, it gives us the ability to, to even compete with other businesses
Makes
that
you
are
more
able to,
competitive.
the larger ones that
Yep.
are able to just
That have that.
offer the paid internships. Like you said, like it's totally different
Yeah.
from when I was coming up. Like people had to specifically say paid internship, and now that's expected.
It's expected.
You got to say unpaid if they ain't
Yeah,
paying.
because
Right.
the internship, we thinking I'm getting paid.
Right. That's just the norm now.
Yeah.
Internship is paid, but when I was coming up, it was like
I
it
don't
was
think I
unpaid.
had an internship for that reason.
Yeah, it was like that. So aside from MCC, you serve on a number of boards. I've heard you speak about that in the past. I guess there's a lot I could ask you about it. There's a lot I'm curious about, but when it comes to serving on boards, how do you know when it's like the right fit, like when you should serve on a board? This is like a personal question
Yeah.
because I'm starting to get asked about serving on boards, and they require time. A lot of times folks want your money as well. They want you to make a contribution to
Right.
be on the board. So how do you know when it's the right fit?
If it does not align with my personal mission, vision, and values, then it's not for me. And I think that everyone should take the time to really sit down and write a mission statement for yourself and write down your values and what aligns with you. And if it doesn't in any capacity, then it's just not for me.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't do the work for free, if I wouldn't do it without being a board member, it's not for me because I want to bring my passion to the work.
I love it. Well, that's great. We just have one segment left of your time. Appreciate you coming today. We're looking at some of the changes that are happening on the sports side of Nebraska. Women's sports is really taking off.
Yeah.
You've got volleyball, basketball, the program is doing really
You
well.
know, North has a women wrestling team.
Women's
I saw
And
some,
they
some
are
posts.
good.
Yeah.
and I'm a North High graduate.
They
So
are amazing.
Really?
One of them is like going to state or something.
interesting. We'll have to look that up. We're gonna drop that. in
Yes,
the video.
I'm telling you that girls, like 3 or 4 of them, they're really good.
Right on.
Interesting. So, you know, there's like a developed basketball program. These different programs popping up, but
Mhm.
then you see some of, like you said, some of these students and student athletes going professional, semi-pro. What does the future of that look like? I heard a rumor that we might be getting a pro women's team here.
I
soon.
heard that too. I think it's needed. I think that like we have reached a point just in society where outside the box things are needed to really like move the needle and create change in a lot of different areas. People focus on like education or the criminal justice system, but if we don't start thinking outside the box holistically and as a whole, then we can't shift one needle. We have to shift everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's why it's important. And like I said, it's inspiring for me to see somebody doing what people say couldn't be done or shouldn't be done. You know, I always teach my son, you know, be unique, be you, stand out. And so that's what they're doing. And in that comes inspiration. And maybe it's not inspiring for me to go wrestle because I don't want to do that. But it might be inspiring for me to go do something else that I thought I couldn't do,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that's solid. Yeah, and you know, we had Shonna and Steve on the show, and then
Mhm.
also Josh, all athletes.
Mhm.
Steve's a runner. I know Shauna's a runner. She's done 5Ks.
Yeah, long running.
Yeah.
Josh with the basketball.
Basketball. He was former Creighton
Yeah.
point guard,
Mm-hmm.
starting point guard,
It was
if I
really
remember
good.
correctly.
Guard, 2 guard, 1.
Yeah. And you know, shout out Josh Dolzer as well. It's weird, they're both Joshes. too.
Yeah.
And they're friends, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're
okay.
friends. Both Creighton athletes, but yeah, we'll get to talk to them a little bit more later. We appreciate your time today. This is going to wrap up the episode, unless we have other things that we want to share. So I guess we should do some housekeeping because you didn't get a chance to do that. Where can people find you at if they want to reach out to you after this episode?
I'm always at Metro, Fort Campus. That's my home, Building 23. You can definitely find me on social media. I'm not the best responder on Messenger, but just be persistent. It pays off.
Okay, excellent. We'll put the link in the description below. But that's going to wrap up this episode of the Content Parlor. We'll see you on the next one.